This lesson is on section 3.5 titled the Pythagorean Theorem. Try to say the word Pythagorean a few times. You can get a little tongue twister there. But the Pythagorean Theorem, it sounds kind of more intimidating than it is. And we're going to kind of break it down in this lesson. The Pythagorean Theorem describes the relationship between the lengths of the legs and the hypotenuse for any right triangle. So what I mean by the legs and the hypotenuse, and just like kind of this picture shows, the legs are the two sides of a triangle that form the right angle. They're actually the shortest sides of the triangle. And the hypotenuse is the side opposite the right angle, and it's the longest side of the triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to call our legs any variable, but we kind of tend to use the variables a, b, and c when talking about the Pythagorean theorem. But our legs are a and b, and our hypotenuse is our long side. I kind of think of that word hypotenuse as long. That word is long, and so the side's long, so that kind of helps me remember. But that hypotenuse is that side c. And so this theorem, a squared plus b squared plus equals c squared, is the Pythagorean theorem. And we use this to find the different lengths of the side of a triangle. And as long as the triangle is right, as a right triangle, we can figure out what any lengths of the triangle are as long as we're given 2 out of the 3 lengths. And that's going to be part of our examples today. So our first example says find the missing measure. Okay, so we have this triangle here. We want to try to find this missing measure of C. We know that this length of the triangle is 24 feet, and we know that this leg of the triangle is 32 feet. Again, 24 feet and 32 feet are the legs, and our hypotenuse is our C. So we're going to think back to the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we're going to call our legs a and b, and it doesn't matter which one we call a or which one we call b, but I'm just going to say, for example, this is a and this is b. So we're going to plug in these numbers into this formula. So we're going to say 24 squared plus 32 squared equals c squared, because we don't know what c is. That's what we're solving for. Now you can definitely use the calculator on this. You don't have to do this by hand. So when you type in your calculator 24 to the second power, 24 times 24, you're going to get 576. And then 32 to the second power, when you type that in, you're going to get 1,024. And that's going to be c squared. Okay, so then all we have to do is add these two up. So we're going to have 1,600 equals c squared. Now, if we think back to last lesson, we have to solve for c, so we have to get c by itself. So we have to get rid of that second power, or the squared. And that operation to get rid of that second power is that square root sign. So what we're going to do is we're going to square root c to the second power, and we're going to square root 1,600. Again, that's going to get rid of these two, leaving c by itself. And then the square root of 1,600 is going to be 40. So again, all we do in solving this problem, solving for the unknown angle measure of a triangle, again, we use the Pythagorean theorem for this, is that we set our legs, the sides that form the right angle, one equal to a and one equal to b, and we plug it into our formula in order to solve for c. So let's do another example to help us practice. All right, so all I did is I switched the triangle in the opposite direction, and I'm asking to find the missing measure of b this time. Again, we're going to use the formula of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, and I'm going to label my sides. So I already know what b is, and I know that this side has to be a leg because it's on the same side, or it forms my right angle, and it's my shorter side. So I'm going to say this has to be a. And my longest side, or the side opposite the right angle, is my hypotenuse, so that has to be c. C is always the hypotenuse, and a and b are your legs. So Let's plug in our numbers into our equation. So a is 15, so we have 15 to the second power, 15 squared, plus b squared. We don't know what b is, so we have to leave b squared here. And that's going to equal 20 to the second power, or 20 squared. So I plug that in. Now let's work out this problem. So again, you can use your calculator, but 15 to the second power, when you check that in, is going to be 225. 15 times 15. Now I don't know what b squared, so I'm just going to write that down. That's what I'm going to do at the end. And that's going to equal 20 to the second power, which is 400. Okay, so my goal is to get my variable by itself. Okay, in order to get my variable by myself, I have to get rid of that 225. So in order to get rid of it, I have to subtract 225 from this side, on one side of the equal sign, and I also have to subtract it from the other side of the equal sign. Just like how we're used to solving equations from 6th grade math. So this goes away. We're cancel each other out to make a 0. And then we're going to bring down what we haven't used, which is b squared, which is our unknown. And we subtract 400, or 225 from 400. We're going to get 175. And just like our last example, in order to cancel out that square sign, we have to square root it. So I'm going to square root b squared, and that's going to cancel those two signs out, and I'm going to square root this side. So the square root of 175 is 13 and 2/10. So b is going to be 13 and 2/10. And again, go back to here and say, does that make sense? Well, according to the picture, and again, sometimes I don't draw the pictures quite accurately, but it's got to be pretty close to 15. I know in this picture it doesn't look close to 15, but it's got to be close to 15, and 13.2 is close to 15. And you have to know that it has to be less than 20 because 20 is our longest side. So it's close to 15 and it's less than 20. So to me, that makes sense. And that brings us to the end of the lesson on Pythagorean theorem. Please remember that Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Thanks for watching.